Anyway, yeah, we'd like to have fun together and share this moment with you all. Cool. So I'm gonna do it a bit differently. What I'm gonna do is share the journey of how we started our discussion in ideation and how we landed in the idea we're gonna try and implement. Um, First of all, I just wanted to acknowledge and appreciate that the idea was brought by pretty much by the team members. Many Arnav and their team, they worked together in a company in India, and they had that idea already in mind. There was an idea they brought to the first session, so they had the inspiration and the motivation to build that. And I thought it was brilliant to have worked with them because they have the passion it needed to put something like this in place. The idea was not only great, but they had built up a quick POC already. So I hope many will have the chance to do a little bit of a sneak peek to you guys on what they built. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna introduce the idea and we how we did our journey from first idea through ideation and start of implementation. So we put together a few frames on Miro. This is the Miro board we used as a team. And we started by defining our vision. What is it that we want to build? It's not a typical component, Forge component. We decided to build an accelerator for an app. Um, so of course, technically it's published on Forge as a component. But the idea is to build a document generator that can be tapped into other applications to speed up the generation of predefined documents. Um, so we defined our purpose, which should be around enabling end users to create reports or letters, templates to be used by hosting apps without development intervention. Um, the idea, the use case, the inspiration for it came from an application that the team is shaping at the moment. They're building an insurance application that has uh, quite recurrent requirement of having documents generated off the back of claims, of insurance claims. And there's a whole bunch of predefined templates that need to bind the information coming from the insurance policy or for the claim or from the product that's been insured or from the client. These templates are predefined. They need a way for a back office administrator to upload those templates and have the application generating them off the back of the system. Now, the way these solutions are normally built is you involve a team of developers who will build specific code for each document template because each document template has a separate specific data set. And the idea here is to build something that's dynamic enough for end users, non-developer users, to build their templates with specific placeholders, with some key names, key terms that can be bound to the internal data structure. So you can imagine that an insurance application has a common data module. We have an example of what a typical insurance application data model looks like. This is a sample template. That's a settlement letter that says, "Dear customer," customer would be a placeholder that would need to be replaced by the customer name. Um, thank you for submitting your claim. Here's your settlement letter. And then two fields that should be bound to the application information. That's the template of a document we want business users to define, and we want the application to be able to generate it automatically. Then, considering that vision, we embarked in an ideation journey where we started by trying to break down the features we see in a solution like this. These tickets came from a brainstorming session we had with the team. Some of them were straightforward, some of them were real challenging. And one of them, the most challenging one, was the data binding. This is really the one that would be the key feature in a solution like this. And that's what we decided to invest more time on. So even if considering the time frame we have in the event, if we don't manage to build the whole solution, we would be happy as a deliverable if we manage to have an automatic dynamic data binding mechanism that can be used in future releases. The next step of the ideation, and this is something that the team brought, that's part of their internal brainstorming. They've been discussing it internally and how the application, how the logic would flow in the component in the application. That helped us uncover some requirements. That's a sample database, a typical insurance app database. Of course, it's a logical level. It's a chunked up version of the database, but we used it to help us inspire on requirements and how to implement the minimum requirements. You'd have a policy with many claims, a claim linked to a user claim to a client, and the policy would have a product attached to it. So that's what we use to frame the requirements of the solution we were building. And then having the data binding as the most complex requirement to be implemented, we started a focused brainstorm session on options, on how to solve the data binding mechanism. We didn't want to just start building. We wanted to discuss as a team and come up with the most feasible and the most elegant solution, and that would get us close to our vision. So we discussed a few ideas. Option one was based on a SQL generator, an automatic SQL generator. The other ones were a bit more technical. As you can see, we have pros and cons for each of the options, and we assessed a lot of different aspects, including which was a very interesting contribution from the team. Why are we talking about JSON payloads and technical structures if we're building something on top of a local platform, right? So why don't we provide users and developers a low-code experience? That was a very interesting insight, and that helped us prioritize the option one is the most feasible as the best solution, considering the 4 options we discussed. So we put together some reference materials, some samples, and then we started building a low-fidelity screen mockup with how the experience of the application would be for the data binding configuration. And we got to a very simple idea of consider that the back office user would be creating a template. They would give it a name, select a primary entity. This entity would be leveraging the OutSystems meta model. So we're leveraging the OutSystems database structure. This primary entity would then release an automatic list of associated entities, also leveraging the OutSystems meta model and consuming the foreign keys, displaying the fields, and then the user would be able to map the placeholders in the templates, in the document template, with the fields in the OutSystems database. Relationships in further levels would be infinite. So depending on the complexity of the data model, that can be as dynamic as possible. There's a few scenarios that we decided not to prioritize at the moment, not to have the solution too complex. So in terms of prioritizing, we came up with a mini project plan and tried to do as much as we can in the time frame we have, but making sure that we're implementing what's more important first. So we discussed of splitting the work in a few sprints, and then we started with creating some development tasks, some research activities, and then on a sprint 2, if we managed to implement all this, we would build some reusable components and leverage a PDF generation from an application that Manny has been working on, POC application. So we thought of using the best of both worlds. So we can leverage something pre-built from the OutSystems Forge, like a PDF generation component, and also leverage some smartness, some logic that Manny has already built. And then if we do have the time, we can implement all the functionalities, and we split it into further sprints. Just to wrap it up, I'd like to invite Manny to give everyone a sneak peek on the POC app he built. I think it's a really good idea to give a little bit of a touch on what the idea is. Man, you ready?
Yep. Thank you, Joe.
No worries. I'll stop sharing my screen. You go ahead, mate.
Yeah. So our component will have an ability to accept the template from the user, as Joe has already showed you the workflow or the flow of our component. So it generally has the two UIs, where the user will have the ability to add the templates to the screen, which may look similar to this. So where he can add the text, plain text, or any kind of HTML text, whatever has the placeholders in it. So in the sample which I'm using, we have kind of 4 placeholders: placeholder of first name and the last name, and the designation and a salary, and some lorem text for just filling the template and all. So once after the user clicks on the save button, there it runs the 2 actions. One is that one directly saves the template raw data into a template table. Again, this flow is all subjected to change. Like, we haven't decided it, but we're considering this might be the flow, but this is all subjected to change again. So we will store the raw data into the templates table, and also we'll run an action which actually lists all the placeholders which is available in this particular template content. And once after we get the list of placeholders which are available in this content, then we'll store that in the placeholders table. So here, there ends the first page, process of the first page. So user can actually finish adding the template here. So once after that, there comes a mapping page, which is what we are struggling to build the complex data in. So here comes the data binding and everything. So we have the low fidelity screen, where we are thinking to develop something in this way, where the user will have the ability to select the application from the application list which are available on the server. And also, after selecting an application, there it shows the primary, all the entities which are associated with that particular application here. And user will have the ability to select the entities as a primary entity. And once after selecting the entity, the associated entities to this entity will all be coming here, and the attributes will also show up. So we have a dropdown which lists all the placeholders against each attribute. So user can easily map the attributes against each placeholder. So in the POC, we made it very simple. So we have an application dropdown which lists all the applications which are available on our server, and it also lists out all the placeholders we have. So currently you can see that we got 4 placeholders, and we can map the data by choosing any attribute which is available in this dropdown. So I have already mapped the values, which are like, I want to map placeholder salary against the salary of the actual data, and the designation and all, which are relevant to the same actual data app, which I'm integrated this Forge component with. And we have a screen where they can easily manage the placeholders. If they want to delete, they can do it. And coming to the integration part, they can simply integrate this component to any of the link or any download button they want to. And on clicking this button, that should pass an ID to our process, and that will actually fetch the data, the actual data which is mapped, and then that replaces the actual content in the placeholders. So this is how we are trying to implement, and that finally downloads the document with the replaced content. So yeah, this is all about our Forge component.